Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. The Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we talk about, well, what do you want to talk about? I'm Pete Mummer.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Gerald Christopher St. Pelagius of Oviedo, patron saint of abandoned children.
Oh,
Kind of a Temple of Doom
Come on,
thing
I
going
do
on
my
here.
homework. Porter.
And today we're joined by one of my all-time favorite guests, a man with a better mane of hair than Willie Scott, a man who knows all the words to the A-Team theme song, Mr. Scott Rosann. Welcome back.
Thank you. God.
it's the A-Team.
Thank you.
The A-Team. Let's watch the A-Team.
Wait, those aren't the words.
Oh,
Yeah, you got to ask Scott.
I know.
I was just testing you.
Yeah. Hi, fellas.
Hey,
Hey,
how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me back. What a joy.
Yeah.
totally.
And today we're going to be talking about minute 76. Minute 76 begins with Indy asking his dad how he can, and it ends with Henry channeling his inner Socrates and telling his son that he doesn't know what the diary means. And right at the beginning of this minute, Indy says, "Dad, how can you?" And then Henry interrupts him. And I wonder how Indy was going to finish that sentence. Does he have some kind of a retort that never gets uttered since he's interrupted?
Well, that's why I picked St. Pelagius. Is because, I think Indy is an abandoned child here. And
Yeah.
this is an example
Yeah.
of that. Yeah. He's his entire life, he doesn't, Dad, how can, and then he's interrupted.
Yeah.
Right.
What he was probably going to say is, how can you say that, but
It's
Yeah.
not, Dad, how can you do
Yeah.
that move you did with Elsa?
I was going to say, how can you sleep with my girlfriend?
Yeah.
yeah.
He's responding to Henry in the end of the last minute saying, you left just as you were becoming interesting,
Yeah.
which is like a total jerk thing to say.
Yeah.
And so he's probably saying something to the effect of, why are you reminding me why I left? Like, this is exactly the kind of thing I left for. You're being a jerk. I'm trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what's fascinating here is Henry says, "Very well, I'm here now. What do you want to talk about?" And is he being sincere or sarcastic?
I think he's being
I
totally
think he's being
sarcastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think he's too.
Okay, because he does kind of do a bug-eyed stare at him.
I love that
Well,
guy stare. He
yeah.
like leans back in his chair.
Yeah, it's like a big and
Yeah.
Well, he's like the church leader.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think he
Mr.
he,
Chats a lot.
I-
He basically jousts Indy. He just knocks him right off the horse there. He's like, "Okay, you want to do this? Fine."
But he does close the diary. Like he does actually focus
Yeah.
his entire attention on Indy, which I think, even though he's being sarcastic, he is actually giving Indy what he wants. Like he's focusing his entire attention on.
I don't know.
That's a sarcastic close.
It is a sarcastic close. He's he's like posing just
Yeah.
long enough to
Yeah.
shame Indy into shutting up and leaving him alone so he can get back to what he wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. But then he totally undercuts himself because I think the look that he gives at that point is a lot more like a chipmunk than like a bug-eyed stare. I think he looks like a little chipmunk, and I can never not see a little like it's almost like he just like like he's peeking up out of a little molehill or something. Like he's. And then when you watch other movies in this series, you can't not see that little face, turning up elsewhere. Spoiler alert.
Well, so Indy finally gets what he wants, albeit kind of, sick and skewed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to answer. Is it because he's never been in this situation with, sitting in front before his dad with a closed diary?
Yeah. Well,
Like
no,
he's
it's more
never
like-
been here.
It's like it's not that I want to talk to you now. I wanted to talk to you back then, and I can't think of anything now because I don't know you. I don't have any relationship with you because you never talked to me back then. You can stare
Yeah.
at me all you want. This is your fault. I'm not weird. You're weird.
Indy's line reading here, though, is kind of weird. Like, I can't think of anything. Like, what does that line
I hate it.
mean?
I'm glad you brought that up, Pete. I'm really, really glad you brought that up. It doesn't. It just seems very unbecoming of Indiana Jones. The way he says it, I don't. It's not like it's poorly acted. It just seems. It just sticks out.
I don't know what he's trying to convey. Like, I'm genuinely confused by it.
It's not kid-like. It's just sort of like, I think it is badly acted, actually. I think he just went the wrong way with it or something. He's like, it's supposed to be, exasperated or something, but it's like, oh shucks, I can't think anything. Like, it's a weird way to go with that line. It's just very strange.
Maybe. Yeah, well, I thought the previous speechless, where he can't finish the sentence in a way. He's like, what?
Yeah.
He's bumbling about and fumbling for what to say, and then he does complete the sentence, and it's worse.
But he kind of
they just should have cut that line out. It was great when he was just totally perplexed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he kind of like laughs a little bit when he says it, and that actually ends up breaking the ice between them.
Right.
How do we know the sentence ended there? Maybe he was going to say, like,
he's still formulating the next thing he's going to say.
He's like, I can't think of anything as cruel as how you raised me.
But what if it's
interrupted again?
What if he started to let out with that, and then Henry Sr. just stops him and goes, in Greek. Did that come out right? Should I take that again? In Greek. Yeah.
Just keep going. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I mean, this is an amazing and completely brilliant, realistic scene, and especially for these characters, which I love. But what is the takeaway message here? Is it that Henry is just impossible to connect with? Or is it, some fathers are born negligent and remain that way, and they see nothing wrong with it? Is it that, Indy and his dad truly have nothing to say to each other?
I can take this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
As the extremely problematic father of a son named Henry, I can take this.
Oh,
that is the emes. That is the God's honest truth. And
Yeah.
and my dynamic with my son, he's 15, going on 38, and it's shaping up a lot like this, which is why everything you're saying, hopefully to the amusement of the audience, is making me sad.
Aw.
No.
That's what fatherhood's
It's
all about.
fathers and sons.
Yeah.
This really, and I'm not sure if I went into fatherhood with this movie in mind. I certainly played some small part in our naming of this kid. A very small part. I don't think my wife would cop to that, but like it was in my mind a little bit, and they captured fathers and sons really, really well. Like, yes, whatever this is we're looking at, including the kind of wonky line readings, they got it, and in this scene in particular, like this is. As you guys may know, it's like this, I like these quiet scenes. You guys seem to have me around for some of these little refractory scenes between action scenes,
right.
And not to get disgusting about it, but this is one that's very sweet and very. It's got a lot going on. It's very tinged with. It's very bittersweet, I guess, is the word for it.
It is like it's nice that Indy's getting to talk to his dad, and it's frustrating that he's not getting anywhere with him, but it comes across as like pleasant, like nice, like he's trying, so something's happening,
Right.
And like even though like Pete, it sounds like you're saying that you think that Henry's melting just a little bit and like letting,
I think he is, but I
don't know. I feel like he's shutting Indy out so he can get back to talking about the Grail.
Yeah, you might be right. I'm not
That's the feeling I
about
get
this
anyway.
Yeah, but I feel like Indy has probably gone the last 20 years thinking about what he's going to say to his dad in just this situation, and then the situation comes and he freezes. Like
Yeah.
he's got all these things. He's like, wait, what was I going to say again?
Oh, I forgot about the stare. I should have prepared myself for the stare.
And he's going to
Well,
go to
I
like he's
think
going to go to
that's
bed
what-
tonight. And he's going to be like, stupid. This was your chance.
Yeah. I think that's what Professor Chrissy Porter was saying yesterday about that. Like Indy stares down boulders and Bridal Willie in a cage and hearts ripped out. But his dad, I mean, this really gets him. Just a quiet moment at the table. He just kind of falls to pieces and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very disarming. Yeah.
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 Yes. Yeah, that's right. So, what's interesting is, according to Henry, he was just about to have a relationship with his son, but then Indy left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ruined it, Junior.
That is
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
low that he puts it on Indy there.
Yeah, it
That
is.
is low.
Yeah, it is.
Like that's the worst kind of guilt trip.
Right.
I think you know what they say, if you want to peacefully navigate the world, you need to meet people where they are, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that's what we have here in this minute. Indy reaches out and he tries and he makes an attempt, and I don't know, maybe it's a rebuke, and then he takes a step back and he's like, okay, let me put some cotton balls around this. Oh, regret. He's trying to meet his dad. I'm not rebuking you, Dad. It's a regret. It's a regret. And he tries to soften it up, and he still tries, and he just falls like on hard concrete.
Yeah.
And then his dad starts talking about the Grail,
Yeah.
and he realizes, all right, look, this is, there's nothing, or I can meet my dad where he is. And if I meet him where he is, maybe then, we can, our relationship will get a little bit better. If I thread this needle and only look right here at the Grail, and it's true, he's including me, he kind of pulls his chair around,
Yeah.
right? And he goes, no,
Yeah.
no, look, we're going to have to do this
Right.
together.
Yeah.
And that is, so that, and then Indy puts the glasses on and he's like, dude, this is the one thing he hates your guts about, and you're,
Yeah.
and Indy, I think he just capitulates or surrenders or maybe just meeting him. It's just acceptance.
Yeah. It'd be like if I tried to learn about baseball so I could talk to my dad or something.
Yeah.
We could enjoy a game together.
Yeah.
Look how hard he hit that ball. It went really far. Wasn't that good?
You
He's
should
going to
have
get
done,
around
Tommy,
all
I was
5
gonna say-
bases with that.
Yeah.
You should have said to your dad,
Touchdown.
you should have said, Dad, I was thinking about the rake that we use to clean up the lawn.
Yeah.
And I really like the newfangled one. As a matter of fact, I'd like to go together tomorrow to the hardware store
Yeah.
and maybe try out a metal rake instead of a plastic one.
Well, the bamboo one's really good for the open lawn, but when you're trying to get out the stuff from the beds, I think we really need to go with like the more wider space plastic teeth.
Your dad would have pulled around,
Yeah.
and he would
Why are
have
you
started
crying,
Yeah. I put it right here in the gardening diary.
I'm not crying.
Oh,
But see,
man.
I think ultimately, the only thing that Indy and his dad both really love, the two things are women and archaeology, or going after these objects. So in the end, this kind of is they're both getting what they want, and they finally are having a relationship, talking about the only thing that they actually would talk about anyway.
Yeah.
So they
That's true.
kind of, unless Indy keeps bringing up Elsa.
But it's fascinating that when push comes to shove, there's only one way to connect with Henry.
Uh-huh.
Now it might, once you go through that little tunnel, maybe it'll blossom out into a wider universe,
Uh-huh.
or a wider cubby hole.
Yeah.
But there is only one way to connect with the guy.
But is that
Yeah.
is there also is that also the only way to connect with Indy? Like is Indy have more dimensions than just going after
I think not.
priceless
See,
that's
objects?
what's interesting here.
Yeah, I don't think he
I
does
think
either.
same cloth. I think.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute, but Indy is reaching out here to his dad. I mean, yeah, it's a rebuke. But he is sort of, literally coming to the table with this.
But then he doesn't know where to go with
And-
it. He gets there and he's able to sort of like set the stage and then can't think of anything to say. That either he's either stopping himself from saying something hurtful, or he really can't, he never thought it through enough to say, well, geez, what am I really gonna get at with this guy? So it's kind of lucky, his father kind of saves his ass a little bit, and stops.
Yeah, he might be relieved. Yeah. Oh, he does have that diary with him. Thank God we could just talk about that.
Well, what's weird is, I guess this is an example of Indy making it up as he goes, because I don't know what he did expect his dad to say to him. Like, you're right, Junior. It was a lonely way to grow up. You're right. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you, son.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's not expecting that. He might just need to say, Dad, that sucked. That was lonely.
I know I'm I think alone on this, but I feel like Henry is taking a step here, and he's welcoming Indy in the only way he knows how to open up. Like, I think this is Henry opening up, and suddenly Indy is his equal. And he's like, "Look, we have work to do." And he laughs.
Yeah, I was about to say he opens that door as nicely and as wide as any father, as you'd ever hope. As much as you'd ever hope a father would open up to his son, he says, "We've got work to do." And that's such a nice invitation between these two guys. Like, that is just very sweet. And the way he says it, he's got a big smile on his face, and he's kind of giggling a little bit. And it's like, that's better than a hug from this guy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's approval. He's finally got approval from his dad. His dad's saying, "We've got work to do." Like, hey, you're my equal. Let's solve this together. Right. We're a team.
I guess it's bugging me, I guess, that it's coming off right off the heels of Henry being a huge jerk to him. And like, in this conversation, like, you left, like, I didn't give a hoot about you until you left, and I was an awesome dad because I did nothing with you. I didn't pay any attention to you. Like, it's just I agree that he is probably trying to connect with them the only way he knows how, but he also just, kind of basically slapped him again a couple times.
Well, so what about this? What if Indy had not left when he just got interesting, and he had this conversation 20 years ago? Would they have had a beautiful blossoming relationship now? Or do you think this was sort of the way things were fated to go no matter what?
I think
it's the way it was fated to go this way no matter what. Yeah.
That's kind of who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't fully believe Henry when he says, you left when you were getting interesting. I feel like he would keep pushing that line down, like whether it's, he left at 16. It's like, he left at 19. Oh, he left at 23. He was just getting interested at, you left at 38. You were just getting interesting, when you were 39.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon.
Oh, my God.
Although Henry does say, Indy says, well, what does this mean? Like, what are these Grail challenges or whatever mean? And Indy says that, and Henry goes, I don't know. Like, we're gonna have to find out. And you're like, that is his way of saying, like, no, it's you and me. Like, I need to rely on you on this one. I'm including you.
I also, though, get the sense that he could be talking, if he was on his way there, if he was on the Zeppelin by himself, traveling by himself, he'd find some guy to, like, show his Grail to and be like, what am I going to do when I get there and try to figure out these riddles? I don't know. Like, I almost don't know if that has anything to do with Indiana Jones.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't think I'm on board with that. And I don't think I'm on board with that.
Pete, we agree.
I think...
Hey,
look at that.
I see that, but I agree with you, Tommy.
Hey,
I agree with.
We're
Just
friends.
because he would do that in that eccentric, pixelated fashion that he is. I could see him doing it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a very fine line between what is Henry into that also happens to overlap with what Indy's into versus is Henry excited about doing this with his son.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not totally getting the second one yet.
But I think this sort of highlights something that's very common in family dynamics. I mean, I guess I'm speaking at least for myself, is that you always kind of want to change people to be what you want them to be. And sometimes it's hard to meet them where, like Jared, like you said, where they are or who they are. Like we want them to be somebody they're not. And sometimes it's hard to say, well, this is actually who this person is. How am I going to, how are we going to have a connection if this is who this person is?
Well,
yeah, you're not alone.
I mean, I don't know.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys touched on this, because I just tunneled up from under a pile of luggage to come here. But, he opens this whole conversation by saying, again, another very generous, thing coming from this guy. He says, sharing your adventures is an interesting experience. And he doesn't say sharing my adventures. And I'm sure he's the kind of person who thinks this is all happening to him and not to his son. So to open up with that and to just, and in some ways it's a kind of screenwriterly thing where here's my son, the great adventurer, and how much is he stepping out of the movie to say that? But
right. Yeah.
But if you don't read it that way and it's just a father reaching out to a son, he's saying, I'm in your story. And that's very generous too. That's a lot like we've got work to do. He's really sort of conceding a lot to his son. And then it leads into, okay, well, we got to have it out. And I think he diffuses that pretty well. It's actually, it's pretty deft father behavior, because he's going to keep it from being this overly, this overwrought thing, I think, between them. And I need to believe that it's deft fatherly behavior because I see a lot. I can't not see myself in the little man with the tweed suit and the problems that he's having with his fatherhood. But no, but it really is. I mean, I think that I think he's got a much better read on what their dynamic is than Indy believes he believes. If that makes sense.
I think so too.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes out later in the movie, yeah.
Is any of their non-existent relationship Indy's fault? Like, for instance, do you guys think Indy left when he felt his dad was trying to get closer? Yeah,
I've wondered that a couple times on the show. Like, if Indy has as much trouble with intimacy as his dad does. And I mean,
it's a little chicken or the egg.
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately,
how
much of that is nurture versus nature? How much of that is what his dad gave to him in the first place, anyway? But yeah, it's an interesting question.
See, I always looked at you left just when you were becoming interesting. I think you guys are looking at it more like he's describing an actual event in their lives, and I look at it and I say, oh no, he's describing what it feels like to be a father, or to be a certain kind of father. Not all fathers feel that way, but I happen to think he's saying all kids leave just when they're becoming interesting to a certain kind of person, like to a person like him. When Indy shows signs of independence, when he shows signs of initiative and independent thought and critical thought, that's getting interesting. But if he's alienated and he starts to make that turn at 14 or 15 instead of at 20 or 25, it's going to seem like, oh, you're leaving early. It's just happening, and it's like, no. I think it's the way. I think he's stating a true fact between again certain kinds of parents and children that you're bound to leave just when things are getting good. So I didn't pick it as like, oh, there was some rift between them and Indy stormed out one day, and maybe you guys know something in the extended universe that I don't know. Read a novel or something. We don't
pay attention to the
Thank God.
Jerry's the only one that delves into the online wiki, so.
That's the dirtiest thing you've ever said, Peter. Stop it.
Ew, it's a family show.
Ew. Yeah. Well, so I like we talked about a little bit yesterday. This explains a ton about Indy's weird half-ass relationships. And, he's self-reliant, maybe to a fault.
Yep.
And, it got me thinking, like, what is Indiana Jones' most normal relationship? Where he's not using somebody because they're the best digger, or, like, what's his most normal relationship?
Short round.
Who's his best friend?
Short round.
I don't know about that.
I don't think he treats Short Round that well, but I feel like he treats him on a more human level than he does Willie, or well, Maybe married.
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure.
that's why at first it sounds like a silly question, but then you
Yeah.
start going through the little, Indy's Rolodex,
Yeah.
and you're like, nope, nah, that's weird.
He
Nah,
does
that's kinda
seem to
weird,
be
too.
easy and, casual and relaxed with Marcus. Like
Yeah.
that they have, they have obviously the same interests and stuff, and they'll be able to. I could picture them like going and getting a beer or something and talking about antiquities or something.
But after doing this for several weeks with Jerry, I just feel like that's like going out with your dog. You're like, who's a good boy, Marcus? Who's a good
Stop
boy?
it.
No, thank you, Pete.
I'm talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No, listen,
I don't have
I
that.
appreciate that, but it's true. You're like, go get a beer and talk about antiquities.
Right,
And you're
well,
like, no, not talk about antiquities.
No, but I'm
I mean,
saying,
that's
like-
a coworker.
No, I don't think that he has anybody deeper in his life than that. I think that might be as far as it goes with anybody. But I think
Yeah.
of like the limited, like you say, the limited Rolodex that he has, I think Marcus might be, or even maybe Sala. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Maybe
that was
Sala.
awkward though when he left Sala on the dock.
But he's awkward. He's a weird guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I just don't think he has any normal relationships. Like I don't think
Yeah.
he has anything that's not dysfunctional.
I don't know. It's like I'm thinking of it now. It's like I always kind
Not
of thought that.
dysfunctional.
I think you think of him as a kind of person where he's got good friends. He's actually the guy who's got friends in every city and town from here to the Sudan.
Right.
It's like he's
Yeah.
he's got
yeah.
all these people, and maybe they just admire him, and maybe they are
Yeah.
they get sort of wrapped up in well, geez, when he comes to town, we always get into some interesting scraps, and that's fun. And
Yeah. At
I
least
can
one of
forget
us
my
dies.
humdrum life for a little while. One of us always dies. Yeah, right.
What's interesting is who comes to mind. He has a truly intimate moment with the Raiders monkey.
Sure, drink. Yeah.
Scratching his belly on
and
the
he kind of
table,
like, and then just kind of like at the table, like he kind of looks down. He's kind of sitting there, and he kind of, he has like a moment of silence with them. Mm-hmm. And you're like, that's as good as anybody, really.
You get me, monkey.
Maybe maybe
You really get me.
maybe maybe Wuhan.
Yeah,
Oh,
we didn't
yeah,
get
we
enough of
didn't
that.
see enough of
We
that.
didn't get enough of that to
Could
know.
be.
Yeah, that's what's tough. Like that would have been interesting.
He didn't shed a lot of grief there when Wuhan died.
No, he did.
He was just kinda like, all
"Oh, I
right,
thought
see ya."
you- Yeah,
Oh,
he
next.
did.
Where's the diamond?
Got something on your
He's
shirt there,
sitting there,
Wuhan.
he's like, we got 3 tickets. Wuhan's not here. We'll just take short
Take this
round.
kid,
Yeah,
yeah.
return that tux now, Wuhan. Thanks.
This
Yeah.
kid's got a good hand for pocket
Yeah.
pocket picking.
Gotta go return that ticket.
Wow.
That plane
That's
ticket.
that's what's tough.
Wow.
We keep coming up with. It might as well be the monkey.
And poor Sala, he keeps
oh.
I mean, that seems like it might be one of the best, but when you look at the dynamic of the relationship, he just keeps getting Sala into all these dangerous situations and taking him far away from his wife and like 30 kids.
Yeah. I like to think that if Indy was not on a mission, he could show up in Cairo and have a nice time with Sala. They do seem to be relaxed and familiar and having a nice time on Sala's,
Yeah,
deck
that's true.
there,
Yeah.
talking about the
Oh, they
headpiece
do.
and stuff.
They
Yeah.
do. Yeah. No, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the person he was closest to isn't with us anymore. It could have been Abner. Because
Yeah.
that was his
Yeah.
mentor. So he seems to actually, I
Yeah.
think he seems to respond to people who are leader figure, people who lead him. So even in this
Yeah.
case, it's like he's subordinating himself to his father a little bit, but I think that's maybe how he really opens up. And Abner was maybe one of the last people where he could be he could sit at someone else's feet and listen and learn things.
Yeah.
I think he probably
Yeah.
has this love of learning that if he's got a good teacher with him, that's the person he
Right.
gravitates towards. So maybe it's Abner.
That's a
I like
that's a
that,
great
yeah.
point, and that's probably the quan or the crux of why I'm so upset about this Marcus business.
Yeah.
Because in Raiders, Indy respects Marcus. Whatever
Yeah.
the relationship is, and I know we just get a little information and all that, but he does respect him.
Yeah.
You just get that feeling when they're sort of talking about they're talking to the G-men and they're talking about Tanis and the staff of Ra, and just Marcus walks into his classroom
Yep.
just sort of unannounced and
Yeah.
in the middle of class. like Indy probably wouldn't tolerate that if it was somebody he didn't respect.
Yeah.
But if he were close to Abner, do you think he became close with Abner's buddies like Roscoe and Half-Breed and those
Stop
guys?
it. That's not funny.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I think maybe that's what I'm missing is I don't see as much of the respect for Marcus in this movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. I can't tell you that Marcus is Indy's best friend, but I can tell you that he respects him.
Right.
I think he's not to call on a long dead minute, but like I think he really digs the little story he makes up about Marcus. Like that's a great. I love that line. I love everything about those minutes. Like he really sinks his teeth into that little story that he makes up, and he does it right off the top of the dome.
Right.
And it's as if he's saying like, this is who this guy could be if he wasn't so busy tripping over his dick, like it's, and we've only come to that in this movie. Like he never tripped over it before, but now maybe he's sort of entered an advanced stage of life where he's just the butt of jokes. But he really, really seems to like Marcus in that little fantasy that he makes up about him. And I don't think he would do that for somebody he was indifferent to. So.
Right.
Regardless of how expedient it might be in warding off Nazis or throwing them off the trail. So I love that little bit.
Messing with their
I'm
heads.
sorry I'm not here for that minute. So gotta go, guys. Bye.
Hey, wait, Scott. Oh, well, now that he's gone.
We get something big here. We get the first mention of the 3 challenges.
Oh, wait. Before that,
Yeah. I got some stuff.
Henry scoots over and he says, when we get to Alexandretta, we're going to face these 3 challenges.
Mm-hmm.
To which Indy should say, no, wait, Marcus and I went over this. We're not going to Alexandretta.
Right.
Alexandretta is the beginning of that stupid doodle map you made, which leads us to the place where the booby traps are.
Yeah.
So you don't even know what you're talking about, old man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
What? Wait, I don't understand. Back that up.
Because Alexandretta
there's
is the
a
train
point.
station. That's where Marcus gets the chicken feather on his face.
No. I know what
Solid.
it is. I'm saying, like, why wouldn't they go there? That's where they have. That's where they have.
would,
but
go
that's
there.
not where the.
Yeah.
But that's
not when
that's the start of the path. That's not like where they're going to end up. That's not where the Grail is.
Oh, he's saying when we get. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, when we
when
get there,
we
we'll
get to
face 3
Alexandretta,
challenges.
we'll face these challenges.
That's
Okay,
interesting.
that's-
Like there'd be a booby trap at the train station.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's some
Which
Nazis.
there is.
There was,
It's-
yeah.
it's-
Marcus
it's
was
a chicken.
kind enough to set them all off. There was the amorous fish water and the chicken and the.
Chicken.
Amorous fish water. That's going to be my hip hop
I
name.
have a question. What does God's breath smell like?
Well, let's I should read these in case people are not as familiar with it. So
That's a
the
good
3
point.
challenges. First, the breath of God, only the penitent man will pass. Second, the word of God, only in the footsteps of God will he proceed. Third, the path of God, only in the leap from the lion's head will he prove his worth. And now, what is the breath of God?
Yeah. So what does God's breath smell like?
A black hole, the Big Bang, tide,
Cosmic
I don't know.
wind. Yeah.
Cosmic wind. I think like manna and honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unscented laundry detergent. Honeysuckle.
Scented laundry detergent.
I don't know. You can't prove I'm wrong.
Is it like frankincense and myrrh?
Probably. Dates and honey.
It brings you to your knees, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's my problem with this. This is a little bit like Anakin Skywalker talking to Palpatine about saving people from dying and stuff. Henry made a huge deal out of, we got to go to Berlin and get my diary back, because in my diary are the secrets for getting through these booby traps.
Right.
But now all he has in his diary are like these little riddles about the booby traps, and that's nothing.
Oh.
They don't know anything more about how to get through the booby traps.
It's not just that.
And here,
Sorry, Tom, I don't mean to cut you off, but like,
No,
it's,
go ahead.
it's not just dumb riddles. It's, if in the close up on that thing, it's dumb riddles and then the stupidest doodle of the Grail with the glory lines kind of radiating off of it. It's like the dumbest
The most
thing.
surprised-looking Grail ever.
It's so weird because it's like he's got this. It's this book. It's got limited pages. He knows like over 40 years, that he's got like I have only 17 pages left. I should really, and it's crammed full in other pages. And in this one, it's like there's like 4 sentences.
My splash page.
And then this giant, like he's just doodling the Grail idly, like he's writing like HJ plus HG TLF,
like
the Grail looks like it just lost its keys.
It's so
Like it's really
stupid.
surprised.
It's so stupid.
And now to top it off, it's
Forgot
got
what the diary
It's like a
was.
surprised
Yeah.
Grail in a Bazooka Joe comic. It's just like, what is what?
and now to top it off, it's got Adolf Hitler's 3rd grade like
Signature on it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
that big like sweeping.
And by the way, this little piece that first of all, it's terrific second unit insert shooting on this thing, if I can get filmmakery about this for a second. It's obvious that those are not Sean Connery's hands, but they got these just perfect, meaty, hammy paws to look like Connery's hands, and they're holding a little like ticket or a bit of newspaper about birth rates or whatever it is, and he's leading it along, and it matches perfectly with the dialogue, which, as somebody who does this, I'm an editor and I have to deal with the weird insert shot. It never goes with the dialogue, ever, ever, ever. You have to cut away from it to a shot of a plant and then cut back. And they got it perfect. Like, it's great looking. And the very first thing that it says, and it is a crazy thing, it says, "The challenges will number 3," which is a really dumb... like
That's old timey.
it's it's like Monty Python-y, kind of like
Yeah.
holy hand grenade, 4 shall they not number, neither number 2, except in proceeding to 3.
It is. He's trying to make it sound like he's super smart. Like he's being super poetic because it's important.
It's really weird. That's the first thing, and then everything else is written exactly as he reads it. But it's just like, the challenges will number 3. And then he wastes 2 pages on like 3 sentences, and then the stupid doodle. It's nuts.
Yeah.
As an insert shot. So,
and he writes everything like all the notes are kind of like haphazardly written. Like they're at diagonal angles,
right?
And like
it's like he was drunk.
Yeah.
Or just making shit up, like in the middle of the night, like he just kind of like, he
Yeah.
had a dream
He
and
wakes up and-
he kind of fumbled for it on the bedside table, and like the pencil wasn't sharpened, and he just kind of like goes off the edge, and then I ran into my doodle.
It's hard not to imagine him just sitting there daydreaming the whole time he's writing all this now.
Right? No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And he also draws a Grail that, by the way, looks exactly like the cup. If Donovan had looked at that doodle, he'd be like, "Oh, that's the simplest thing ever. That's the cup.
Yeah.
I just got to look for that."
Yeah.
But-
I love that though. I bet he
wait.
stuck his tongue out while he was drawing it too.
Staying in the lines.
Well, where does Henry get this 3 booby trap info? Like, from an illuminated manuscript?
Right.
Oh, we heard it from
Or a
the
shield?
what was that thing? We talked about it. The Chronicles of Saint Narnia. What was it?
Right. St. Anselm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is
Oh,
that
right.
where the challenges are?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't... I mean, maybe I'm forgetting that? I mean, is that... Because if that was true, they wouldn't need the Grail diary.
That's
And just
true.
go to the
These-
Chronicles of
that's
St.
true,
Anselm.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go back to Donovan's
which Donovan
apartment.
has, like, edition 1.
With a little baby spotlight on it in his house. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
a good
I
point.
thought Henry's diary was the only place that the booby traps were documented.
Right. I mean, Indy should be furious right now. Like, we literally motorbiked into Berlin during like a Hitler book burning rally to get this book, and somehow we
killed
survived.
36 people to get this book.
Yeah, and stole 52 outfits.
I had to chuck an old lady out of a Zeppelin. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, where does Henry get this booby trap info?
That's where it is.
I mean, I'm
From
just
the-
research, like
Yeah.
just research that like some book or manuscript that no one else has ever seen?
Well, it's also part of
weird.
it's corroborated in he's got a piece of artwork in his house that shows the people taking the leap of faith and falling into the
Right.
and that's
Okay,
that he picked
so
up at
is
a
it
yard
just-
sale or something, and it's like
Right.
Well, I mean, or did he
It's there, too.
paint that?
Well, that's just it. It's like there are other things in this book where it's like he has a perfect rendition, from Indy's that he started in Indy's childhood of the stained glass window that he's copying, and then he comes to the part where it's like, and I have there's this other thing that is very important with leap from the lion's head, and he doesn't even bother to sketch that next to the words that it's there. He just draws the stupid grail.
Fills the whole
dumb
thing with
grail,
3s and 7s and 10s, and then he doesn't have room for anything else.
So, like, did he paint that painting? Yes, but he didn't put it in the one place where he would need it later, which is in this little stupid
Right.
book. So,
I mean, he's the only one who knows about the booby traps, and just because he's been researching it for 40 years, he corroborated it, or maybe that's all I'm saying. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Is it just
No-
that the
no one else
Nazis don't
has
have
knowledge.
he was the Nazis expert. He didn't know that he was working for the Nazis originally, but he was their expert. So, yes, technically the Nazis or somebody on their team could look this stuff up and find it without him. But I guess the idea is that he's the guy, and no one else is going to look it up if not him.
Right.
I don't know. I'm trying.
No, you're corroborating
I am corroborating.
different
Mighty try.
weird, St. Anselm's and paintings.
Yeah.
Pete, can you dig us out of this? Or
I'm
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I was baffled to see why.
I'm not I just thought maybe I was forgetting something.
No.
No, this is probably
Okay.
the most consistently frustrating aspect of this movie, at least minute by minute, is that, if you're just watching the movie, you see people get excited about the clues that they just figured out, and you go, oh, good for them. I don't have time to think about it and figure out what they're actually
Right.
excited about. But when you're doing it, when you have time to think about it minute by minute, you're like, boy, oh boy, they just threw a bunch of things in there that sounded like clues and sounds like they're following a path, and it does not make a lick of sense. And it's very frustrating. But again, you're not supposed to watch it this way. We're dummies. We're making
Yeah,
a huge
sure.
mistake.
Yeah.
Well, why is the lion's head in there? Is that like a St. Mark's Venice connection?
Maybe.
It's
yeah, and
possible.
who wrote this?
Yeah.
Did the
Yeah,
knight write it?
and it makes me. So
Saint
when did the
Anselm.
booby traps get
Yeah.
put in place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering because it seems like these were in place before the first knight found it.
Right.
So,
But I don't know why I think that.
well, it's because that picture that for the yard sale picture on Henry's wall is of the knights falling into the chasm,
Right.
Right.
and that was apparently the knight going into the finding the Grail. So the booby traps were already there. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe Joseph of Arimathea made them all.
Yeah, we're trying to figure this out a while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's not casting our eye too far ahead, it's like how many engineers does it take to build a perfectly square bridge over an endless chasm and then paint
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
in forced perspective?
Yeah.
We're just finding the
or-
right cave in the first place that
Spoiler
has
alert.
a nice big open drop that you can then build word tiles over.
Right.
But there are some nice pillars in there too.
Oh, I hate that.
For the right number of letters that do spelled in it. I don't know.
Will you guys invite me back so I
We'll
can just
get
get mad about that part? Because I hate that thing under there. I really
Wait till you
hate
hear
that.
what they cut out. Wait
No,
until you
I
hear
know what they
Oh,
cut
boy.
out. I hate that too. I've read all the lore.
Well-
I hate it. Boo.
Well, on that note of love and fun, anybody have any other thoughts on minute 76?
I do. I have a quick one. What is that little rubber band thing that's on the table?
That's the rubber band that holds the diary closed.
Okay,
Yeah.
I looked for that earlier, and I couldn't. I couldn't see. I guess I never noticed it because the diary's never closed.
Yeah, like today when you buy it. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's because
Except during a
always
fatherly
just got
challenge.
his nose in it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It closes it then. Yeah.
But like today, if you go to Borders or Barnes and Noble. I guess those places aren't around anymore. But like any diary you buy has that thing attached to the back of the book.
Right.
But this one, it looks like it just comes off.
Right.
It's a moleskin.
Hey, wait a minute.
Whoa. What?
Speaking of moleskins,
Sure.
I'm sorry.
We totally
I'm
understand
sorry,
what you're saying.
Christopher. Yes. Wait a minute. Something comes in over the wire. This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Professor Moleskin. If you were setting a booby trap for the ages, what challenge or crucible would you require pilgrims to complete?
Oh boy.
That's a whoa, oh boy.
Get out your blue books.
Yeah, exactly. You have 50 minutes to answer this question.
I'm just looking off
I
what you
wouldn't
write,
be
Tom.
a tree.
I should have eaten lunch.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll say this. I like I like where they go with this penitent thing. The penitent man. You're like, yeah, okay. I like that.
They all seem like
feel
they're
like the
meant to
night-
like make you fake actual faith and belief and reverence. Kneel down as if you give a hoot about God, whether you do or not.
You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I wouldn't like. I wouldn't. You're right. You got me. Scratch that booby trap. Like the nice man drinks from the font. I don't know.
You know what I've never seen actually? I've never seen a booby trap that actually incorporates boobies. So maybe I'll try to do something like that. Be the first guy in history.
Second. If you count the Jerry's favorite room in the Temple of Doom.
Oh sure.
Well, yes. Yeah.
That was more of a booby trap entrance, though.
That's
I
true.
guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That wasn't really a trap. It was more of a booby treasure.
More of a pastime.
Let's go play with the Apsara.
Well, speaking of treasures, Scott, it was fun having you on today.
Thanks.
Is there anything you'd like to share with anybody? Any place you'd like to point people to find more of what you do?
Oh goodness. Well, I'm active on Facebook and can be found at the Listeners Crusade area occasionally. If you write something funny, I'll expend the energy to click once to acknowledge it. Sometimes I'll write something nice like that was funny. Yeah, no, mostly there. I don't know. I mean, not much Twitter anymore, and if you're a fan of shows like House Hunters International, you can watch that, and maybe I edited one. But that's what I do.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
I'll watch for your insert shots.
Yeah.
Yes, really. Big meaty paws. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't match the dialogue.
And if you want more of our meaty paws, you can find them right back here tomorrow on minute 77 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Koans!
Wait, what'd you actually say? I don't know what you said.
I didn't know what you said
I don't know how to
either.
pronounce like those
Corn? Like a Zen
cones, Zen cones, right? Oh, come on, it's the best one I got.
good.
We're talking about riddles, Zen cones, koans. I don't know, how do you pronounce
It's.
it?
I think it's Cohen. I always feel like Cohen, but I don't know.
Cones?
I think he said
Okay,
Khan,
Cone.
like James Caan or something.
Yeah,
Or
I
like
didn't
you
get it
wrath
either.
him, like Captain Kirk.
That was a
All right, I'll
bad
do it
yell,
again.
Jerry. You've angered me.